All right, so I actually made up a word this morning, and I'm so happy about this. Now, the last year and a half of all of our lives, the word synergy has been like kind of a gigantic joke. Like there's all this stuff happening all over. You're just trying to make it work for the day.
Yeah.
But it seems like, Amy Lee, frontwoman of Evanescence, that you have a very synergistic year ahead of you. The album is out now. The single doing great. The big tour with Halestorm later this year. This feels like synergy to me. And I bet you for you, it's finally like, great. We're finally here.
Yeah, it feels really good. Part of last year and this time, something that's felt really good is just to keep going, just to go harder. Don't let it stop us. Don't let anything hold me down. Like just this feeling of, I can't waste a minute. I don't want to waste a day. We don't know if we have tomorrow. So it is time to just do what we were born to do. So kind of taking that attitude after the initial sort of like, frustration and heartbreak and just frustration. I want to say that word a lot because a lot of it was that, but also just anxiety and fear about everything. You know how this time has been. I don't have to describe it. But it's felt really good to sort of take control of the things that we can control, make great music, give something to our fans and have something to look forward to and be excited about.
Now, can you kind of talk about how early on or what part of the process of recording the record were you when the pandemic hit and you guys had to split up?
Yeah, we went into this different regardless of anything. We didn't know about the pandemic or anything yet. We went in the studio January of 2020 just to do a couple of songs with Nick Raskulinix, our producer. Just sort of see how it goes. We knew we had a few songs, but we knew we had a lot more music to write before we're going to be really ready to go in and record a full album. But like, as time goes by, like, I know how daunting and soul consuming in a good way, but also in a way it is to make an album. So we were just kind of being adults and going like, hey, why do we have to do this all at once the way we've always done it and lay all the drums first and know exactly what's going to happen? Why don't we just take a more free approach and be experimental about this and go in and do a few whole songs and then come back after the tour? So we were lucky that we started things off that way because we walked out of that studio with 4 finished mixed songs in March, right before we really couldn't be together for months. And I recorded the last few like vocal bits right here on this mic. And we've sort of mixed remotely. It was like right at the edge. So we had those songs to carry us through. Like we just started releasing them and simultaneously just dove into the creation of the rest of the record.
So do you think that this might be how you do it going forward as far as the recording?
We went in the studio in like November of 2019 to record this cover of The Chain by Fleetwood Mac for a video game commercial. And it was so fun and satisfying and good to go and just focus on one thing. Really, that's what inspired the idea. So we went in going, hey, like we don't have to play by anybody's rules. We can go in whenever we want. Like, let's just do it a piece at a time. I love that. Mm-hmm. I like the idea of we're a band who loves albums. I love transitions and intros and an epic journey and the whole tale. But I also love the freedom of living in a world where it's totally acceptable. Just go record a song for no reason and put it out there. So I think that we're going to embrace that mentality moving forward. It doesn't always have to be the whole thing.
I was having a conversation with one of our younger staff members a couple of weeks ago. And he mentioned to me that he had just started listening to full lengths, like in, he was, mid-20s guy. And, Amy, it still blows me away that's, that we are sort of almost the anomaly in being ones that love all those aspects of the full album and the album titles and the artwork and the song titles. Like I still really get into that. And so it just kind of took me aback a little bit.
Well, if he's listening to his music that's all new, currently that's less of a focus for a lot of artists. It's more about the one song. So he's not wrong. It's not like you can go just find any artist and they're going to have a great album for you. It kind of depends on I wonder what the first ones he's digging into are. I wonder what inspired him.
I'll tell you what it was. It was Radiohead OK Computer.
Great.
which was,
Perfect.
I was like, okay, well, if
Yeah,
you're going to
good
get a
job.
start to back or front to back, that's the one. You know,
Yeah.
I've always, my entire life, I've been really just, I'm so amazed by songwriters on all levels, you know, and even poets and things like that. I just find it so amazing that you have this ability to put your songs on paper and kind of have it speak to you. But I have kind of a two-part question with this. One, when you're dealing with tragic events and things that have gone on in your life, I can't imagine how hard that is to open up and write about. And I've heard people say, well, it could be therapeutic, but then I could also see it being, you know, really a hard thing. So how does that work? You know what I'm saying? Like if you're writing a song about having a broken heart and you're really friggin' living with it, like, does that even help? Does that make you feel worse? I know it's probably like a nerdy, almost famous question, but
Oh,
I'm
it's
just
a great
curious.
question. It's a great question. I think different people feel differently about it. I honestly, what's beautiful about writing, creating of any kind, whether you're painting or journaling or making a song, um, it starts just in a private place. And I like to be able to go into it with the mentality of always, I don't have to show this to anybody. I'm doing this for me. I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing something that I love, that expresses something that I can hardly even say just in words to somebody in a song, in an artistic expression kind of way to release myself. And then if I decide I'm comfortable with it and it should be shared, then I can, but I don't have to. And
Mm-hmm.
it really, I have never, and always knowing that that's a possibility, I've never gone far down a road and written like a whole song where I was just spilling all the tea
Mm-hmm.
about my internal organs. And then gone, it's too real. It's too personal. I can't share it. Honestly, I feel like the more baggage that I release, the more it releases me to put it out and to set it free. It's kind of like when you're standing over like a really big cliff dive and you're so freaked out to do it and you don't know, and you know it's going to be fine, but it's like it's scary. And once you do it, if you do it,
Right.
like the amazing relief and release and excitement and goodness that it gives back to you to have done it.
Yeah.
And for me, like part of the thing that gives back and it's healing and therapeutic for me about that is I've gotten to see firsthand like this music be something positive in somebody else's life who's been through something like I have, you know, who has lost someone or lived with a disability or just struggled with feeling different or whatever. Being able to have music the way I've had music and loved other bands and artists, and feel like I'm not alone in the universe. If I feel like I can kind of like, I don't know, reach out and give something back into the universe that could be good for somebody else, it's the same as being good to myself, if that makes sense.
100%. No, 100%. You know, I wanted to mention this before before we got done here today. I love the song Yeah Right on the new record. I like that it is a change of direction a bit, sort of. But you know what? It made me think, and you can tell me that I'm crazy. And I was listening to this and I'm thinking to myself, she could make this a pop song like that. Like, I mean, it could be a legit radio pop song. You could do whatever you wanted. And I feel like you even have that in your head that, you know what? I appreciate the way that Evanescence leans the way that it does rock, but that doesn't mean it always has to lean that way.
Yeah, it's definitely a production choice. The song honestly was written like a pop song. I When songs start for me, it's in the box. I'm sitting at Pro Tools and playing with loops and keyboards, and it's very pop, or at least electronic. And then the band, we make it together into what it really is. But the basics always are coming from that kind of synthetic place. And that song in particular was just this like sarcastic fu to everything in my life at the time. And it felt good to like rebel against myself. And it was purely rockless. It was just total pop. But then what's cool, and that song sat on the shelf for a decade. Like that was part of the writing, you know, experimentation before our self-titled came out. So I've had that one at the bank forever going, you guys don't get it, but I swear this could be a great heavy song. You just have to get into it. And they finally got into it this time. I made them. I was like, I'm not giving up on Yeah Right. Like we're going to try again. But I had a new inspiration about it because we're actually at some festival and standing on side stage. We love watching Korn and Rob Zombie. And both of those artists were playing this one particular night. And I was standing there rocking out with Jen. And I was like, this is the vibe that we need to put on Yeah Right. Like it should be like that. You're having fun. You're at a twisted carnival, but also, you know, everybody's zombies. Like we have to make that thing. So I think that it just clicked in a new way, and our producer is really great. So
Rob Zombie does that heavy with the bounce.
Yeah,
almost exactly. As good as kind of like anybody else. And I try not to get too geeked out when I talk to folks, but when I interviewed him the first time, it was a real like holy smokes kind of thing, because that was really one of the first metal bands that I ever, you know, kind of gravitated towards, you know, and it was just amazing. I want to ask you about that real quick, because I know that you're a 90s kid and loved the Nirvanas, the Pearl Jams, the Panteras. But what I want to know about you, where did you side on that spectrum? Because I was very much on the Nirvana, Pearl Jam side. The Pantera stuff was just a little too heavy for me. Right. Where were you on that spectrum? I'm curious to know.
I've gone in phases, and I've always been sort of a cherry picker of genres. I never was like, this is me. Mm-hmm. There was a time where I'm like, grunge, that's it. When I was like 13. So it was like Nirvana, Soundgarden, Pearl Jam all the way, like over and over and over. And I was still on tapes. I was one of the old school people. It was still just like listening to my Pearl Jam tape, wearing it out. I know what's the first song of the B-side. So that was me, but then it definitely got a lot more diverse just quickly, because that time in music, alternative music was such this beautiful, broad space for stuff to just be whatever. And the more unique it was, and the quirkier it was, the cooler it was. And that in itself really inspired me. I fell in love with Bjork. I fell in love with Beck, the Smashing Pumpkins. I like things that have a little bit of a melody or pop sensibility. I can get into metal. I used to go to death metal shows, and I love Pantera, but it doesn't satisfy like my whole realm of need in music. And my favorite type of heavy music usually has some sort of a melody at some point coming in. Because I love melody.
Like sort of heavy mountain there, man. I just love both of those bands so much. So the big tour coming later this year to St. Louis, we're really excited about this. You're touring with Halestorm. This seems like a perfect fit. I got to know how this all came together came to be.
I mean, it's just a duh kind of thing. I mean, we've been friends forever. Last time we toured together was in 2012. I mean, we've seen each other plenty since then, but as far as like doing a committed tour together, it's been that long. And it's just a precious memory for all of us. We had such a good time together. And I feel like, you know, we both have really great fan bases who get along. And it's cool to just bring the world together. It makes my fans happy when we go out with Halestorm, makes Halestorm fans happy when they go out with us. So first tour back after all this, it was just like, duh, girl, come on, let's do this. I'm just so excited that is going to be our finally going back to it, just straight up, like just the candy, just US tour, rock and roll, cornhole in the parking lot, Halestorm and Evanescence.
Dude, it's such a great bill. And so, but here's the thing though, that I wondered, that doesn't start until like November, right?
I know.
So what are you going to do until then?
I don't know. I've been working my ass off for a really long time, and there's always something coming. I've got a great team who's very excited to crack the whip and keep me going and promoting the album that I worked so hard for, and I'm grateful for that. So, I mean, I'm happy to take a moment, you know, to kind of like enjoy the release. We just made a badass music video, and I'm sure there'll be another thing coming around the corner anytime. So there's a lot to do.
All right. I'm sorry. One more question and then I will for real be done. So I did see the video yesterday. I know I've seen artists who do not like making music videos. They call it like their least favorite part of the process. I have a feeling that that's not the case for you. You guys put so much into these. They're wonderfully done.
Special. That's a special event. You don't get to make a music video all the time. Those are expensive. And you know, now back in the day, you used to be able to kind of justify it to the man by saying, hey, look, you know, yeah, it costs like hundreds of thousands of dollars, but we're going to make that money back in like streams through MTV or whatever. And that is just non-existent. It's strictly promo. So for me, like I have this standard, like I don't want to come in and make a video that looks cheap. If it's going to be Evanescence coming back, it needs to look like it always did. It needs to be nice. It needs to be good. It needs to have a meaning. And it's such a beautiful opportunity to kind of like play with a whole other medium. I mean, we get to mainly play in audio land, you know, it's all about what you're hearing and imagining. But when you have a chance to express yourself visually too, I mean, it's just so fun. It's worth it. And I always put my money where my mouth is and say, no, it's worth it. I'll pay for it. Let's go. So I had a lot of fun doing that. Our director, Eric Howell, did the Use My Voice video too. And that was such a cool moment because we were coming in, you know, finding a way to finally get most of us back together and mask and have the, you know, COVID test people and the stay apart and the stuff. But we had so many people that wanted to be a part of it. And it was just a beautiful thing. And then this one too, we road tripped it. We weren't fully vaccinated yet. So my best friend, Beth, she does my hair and makeup. She and me and Troy, our guitar player who lives in Atlanta, he drove up to us in Nashville and we all got in a car and we drove up to Minneapolis because that's where Eric and his crew and all of his stuff is. And we filmed up there and it was such a blast. And I don't know why. It's funny, like the upside to this flipped upside down world is it first of all, makes you appreciate the things you've had to be without. But second of all, like I would never have taken that road trip at this phase in my life with my friends, you know, if it wasn't because we were trying to avoid the plane because we didn't feel safe with that yet. And we had the best time. Like I will love my truck stop hoodie forever.
And I'll tell you, and you even alluded to this, and you said something along these lines in an interview that I read in preparing for this. But if there is one thing that I have learned over the course of the last year, as a father of three, as a 45-year-old guy, is I appreciate now more than ever what is important and what matters to me.
Yes.
And so the things that I would have gotten bent out of shape about work, about whatever, man, I got to tell you, those things are just not sticking the way that they used to, you know?
It's freeing, isn't it? I mean, just like, let it go.
It is. And as a type 1 personality, I guess that's what they say, type A for me. It's been a challenge, but boy, like I can start to feel the muscles in my shoulders again. It's pretty nice.
Good for you. Yeah, perspective's a good thing.
Absolutely. Well, Amy, thank you so much for your time today. Again, I'm so sorry about our troubles yesterday, but I appreciate your time and can't wait to see you again here in December. All right.
Can't wait. All right. Thanks, you too.
Take care, Amy. Bye-bye.